Test. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Hey, you got me, Sammy?
Yes, sir. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
I'm going to go ahead and put you on mute.
Okay, thank you.
the mics up. Let's go ahead and get started. Well, it's a great day in Kershaw County and an all-American county. Thank you all for coming. Before we begin, we've had a rather bleak several weeks of losses of great people in our county, named and unnamed, Historic Camden, Boys and Girls Club, and others, and those known and unknown, personal and friends of ours. It's been kind of a long spate of funerals. Let's just have a moment of silence for a moment. Please, would you join me in a moment of silence? Amen. I know the Lord's will be done here. We're in Black History Month. We're called to order. Mr. Tucker is calling in, so everyone is present today. So I'll convene this great institution. And with that, I ask you to stand and join us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Snodgrass. Thank you.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this evening, this moment to come together. And Lord, our prayer, Lord, is the echo of Solomon. Lord, when you asked what you could give him when it came to governing the people, and Lord, he asked for wisdom. And so, Lord, among this body, we ask that, Lord, you give us wisdom in these days. And Lord, remind us that the role that we have has nothing to do with our agenda or anything that makes us great, but it has everything to do with others. It has everything to do with those who are gathered here in this place and in this venue, those who are listening, and those who call this great county of ours home. So I pray that you'll be with us in our deliberation, and we love you. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate that. And with that, we have public comments. We return to Mr. DeBose. Sir, would you help us out? You could talk into the mic there.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. We have 4 people that signed up.
All right.
And the first person, I'm having a hard time reading your name. Is it Merle H.? Oh, thank you. Stand up. She's the first person. Merle, what's your last name? Thank you.
Give me the last name again, please. Oh, Ms. Clyburn. Yes, of course. Thank you, ma'am. Please come on up. And normally what we do is we listen to you. We don't have an exchange of comments back and forth. If you limit your comments to a subject, and we'd be happy to get back to you after the meeting with any questions. Could you come up to the mic? Is that convenient to you? And please take about 3 minutes, if you don't mind.
I'm here on behalf of myself.
Vic, would you put the mic over?
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Ms. Clyburn.
Okay. I'm here on behalf of myself. I've been talking to the planning and zoning for I know over a year, a little over a year now. In 1998, I bought some property in Lugoff, and I bought 6 acres. At that time, I was working for Norma Gripper, and I know a lot of y'all might have known Norma Gripper, but I was in real estate for over 20 years. I bought the property, and I bought it with the intention of, I have 3 children, and it was 6 acres. I bought it with the intention of letting each one of my children build a house there. Now they're saying that I cannot subdivide this property because it's private. It's a private road. And I'm here to find out from you all, the property was bought before that law came into, so I can't see no reason why I can't, if I'm gonna pay tax on it, why I cannot have my children to build on the house. At my age now, I need my children near me, and that was the biggest thing. I need them to be around me, I've had surgery and cannot walk and cannot be in the house by myself. So for that reason, I'm asking you to consider, because it would come under the grandfather's clause, since I bought this land before you set that rule. I bought the land before. And I know you wouldn't know the intention in my heart, but that was my intention. And if you can just say, okay, I can't do anything, I'm thinking, myself, I think you're doing an injustice to me, being a woman raising children and trying to do my best in this county. I've worked in this county for several different people. So I just feel like it's an injustice to me if you prohibit me from giving my children something. I've always said, the Bible said, you leave an inheritance for your children, and I'm a firm believer for that. So that's my comment today.
Ma'am, do we have your address and phone number? Ken, do you have that?
I do not have.
Can you
her
be sure to
address.
get that right
Danny,
away?
you got it, don't you?
Is it Rio?
We'll take care of it.
It's 36.
Ken, would you get that for us?
36
Rio
Rio
Lane.
Lane.
Thank you.
36
Rio Lane.
Rio Lane.
What district is it?
We'll take care of that, yeah.
What county?
Yeah.
Cornell? Is it Cornell?
Okay, we got the address, and we'll get back to you after this. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, this is my sister Janie. She was next on the list.
Okay.
And,
Oh, good, she's up.
Yeah.
And can we get your phone number, please, ma'am, too? Okay, yours, Janie. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm Janie Harriet.
Yes, ma'am.
843-332-3589.
What district right now?
I'm not in this county, I'm in Darlington County, but I'm supporting my sister because, as she said, she purchased this land with the intention of building homes for her children, and there have been other houses built out there, and I don't understand why, if it was purchased before this ordinance was done, why she has to adhere to that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. During our rules here, we don't have a dialogue, but we now have your contacts and your complaint, and we will take care of it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Clyburn. Nice to see you. Mr. DeBose.
And the next person, and I'm having a difficult time reading their writing also, is Lee Smith. Is that correct?
Mr. Smith, please, sir.
I'm here interested in on the old business about the zoning and planning board, along with the appeals board. I was denied a variance for a 180 square foot wall, but in 2014, there was a variance granted for a swimming pool. I feel like I've been treated unfairly. Also, there's a lot of things that need to be addressed when it comes to being on Lake Wateree, and I think you're going to see that in the future. But right now, if there's some flexibility, I guess we'll hear that later. I want to know if that's going to apply to me.
All right, Mr. Smith, thank you. Again, do we have your address and contact information?
I have it.
You got it? Okay, you got it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Was that
The last person signed up is Tom Webb III.
Mr. Webb?
It's Scalia month again, February. Been 6 years since Antonin Scalia died under very unusual circumstances. He went hunting in West Texas and didn't come for breakfast. They found him in bed, dead with a pillow on his face, and he did not get an autopsy. One of the most important people in the country at the time, 34 years on the Supreme Court, big intellect, lots of wit, had great capacity to sway people, probably did a lot of really great things for America, particularly for conservative causes. So I don't want to forget him. I don't want anybody else to forget it. I'm going to be showing my little signs here and there and yonder, and I'm proclaiming this Who Kills Scalia Month. You know, if he was still alive today, there's a lot of problems that would have been gone, I suspect. Somebody knew what they were doing. snuffed him out and left a pillow on his face as a symbol. Probably didn't kill him with a pillow. But there hasn't been any investigation to any extent. Just somebody on the phone talking to the people who were there suggested that he had had a heart attack. They didn't have a doctor look at him. No autopsy. But a couple of months later, the singer Prince died in an elevator. He got an autopsy, but not Antonin Scalia, one of the most important people in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Mr. DeBose.
That concludes the sign-up list.
And that concludes public comments. We move now to a public hearing in regards to an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax by and between Kershaw County, by and between Kershaw County, whereby such property will be subject to payments in lieu of taxes by the county to create a multi-county industrial park, designate the property be owned by a project panel as multi-county park property and other related matters. I open the public hearing. And seeing no one coming forward on this public matter, I'll close it. And we move to the next item on the agenda, which is on the board, adoption of our agenda. With that, can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Gardner, a second
Second.
from Mr. Snodgrass. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make everyone aware, I'll have to leave early around 6:30 if we're not done yet. I
Okay.
just want to make everyone aware of
Very
that.
good. And perhaps you could call in or something of that nature, but thank you for telling
I've got
us.
a daughter who's dancing tonight
Yeah,
at the thing, so
okay.
I want to try to make that.
All right. And that'll maintain the quorum whether you call in or not. So we still have 5 persons present, 1 calling in, and perhaps you as well. Okay. With that, we move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. And then Mr. Tucker, how do you vote?
Yes.
So we have 6 yes, and Mr. Brazel is out of the room. We'll take that as 6. Ms. Siegler, we now move to a series of public presentations. I don't know.
Clarification
Yeah.
about Mr. Brazel,
He's not here.
correct?
Yeah, that's what I said. With item number 1, report and
Thank you.
update of Kershaw County Sheriff Department, Casey Coroner, and a detention center. Gentlemen, please, let's hear from you. Sheriff, good to see you.
Afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon.
I'm going to go through our stats here. I know we kind of combined my office with the coroner's office as well as our jail, so we're going to try to get through it as quick as we can so we don't bore you with a bunch of numbers. Try to put everything in this first slide here. You'll see where most of our numbers went down. The biggest number you're going to see there is our drug overdoses, and I don't think that should come as a surprise to anyone that these are drug overdose calls. These are not the drug overdose deaths. Our coroner will go over that number in a little bit. That seems to be our biggest challenge. And it's not a one-person challenge. I can tell you now that these handcuffs here, this is not going to solve the problem of drug overdoses. We can't arrest away our drug overdose problem. This is going to be a community problem that a lot of people is going to need to help us out with. Everybody's quick to blame everybody, pointing a finger somewhere else, but this is something we're going to have to team up on together. This is 48% increase from the calls we went on. And you'll see the very next number, Narcan use, where it went down from 23 to 8. As we know, in 2018, we broke a record with, I think it was 37 overdose deaths in our county. That's the most we've ever had by far. I think before that, the record was like 7 or 8. We went to 38 in 2018. 2019 brought them down drastically because of Narcan. But now between, I don't know whether it's people getting too complacent and too overconfident with Narcan or whether more fentanyl showing up in a lot of our drugs, but our overdoses are going through the roof again. And you can see where we only administered Narcan 8 times as a sheriff's office this past year. So we're not getting to them in time. It's getting carried away. Again, going back to handcuffs, you can arrest somebody as overwhelmed as our jail is and court systems as backed up as they are. You may spend a couple days in jail. That's not enough to deter somebody from using drugs that can kill them when You know, they're willing to gamble with their life. They're sure not worried about a day or two in jail. They need a lot more than we can give them, more than we can provide them. We'll take some rehab. Rehab's not something that you can force on someone. So as a community, we got to get behind people that are falling victim to this the drug overdoses. We got to give them that support they need to get out and get the help that they need. And you know, don't be so quick to call us to arrest them, because that's not the answer. You know, we got to look elsewhere for that. Our major impacts, again, drug overdoses, number one. Courts being overwhelmed and backed up. COVID put us back a good bit. A lot of the courts were just shut down. And now we're really paying the price because we're backed up. And I know Cato, he's probably going to give you a lot of numbers of how much the jail is being booked up. And recruit and retention. For the first time, we're starting to have issues at the sheriff's office with recruiting and retention. My first 2.5 years in office, I think I hired a total of 2 people that we've sent to the academy. We've been able to hire from other agencies up until that point. In the last 6 months, I've hired 3 non-certified. That's a lot more of an investment you're putting in somebody when you hire them non-certified, because you're sending them through the academy, your FTO. I mean, you're looking from the time you hire them to the time they're productive, about a year turnaround. We're having to do that process now, and it's got a lot to do with state. You know, states' salaries going up. You know, we just don't have that. Law enforcement's not a cool job anymore. A lot of people are not turning that away. We don't have as many applicants to pull from these days, and hopefully it's going to turn around soon. But for now, that's an issue that we're starting to come across, and we're fortunate that we didn't have to deal with it before now, because a lot of other agencies have been dealing with it for years now. Always want to end on a bright note. Looking ahead, 2022. We're getting closer to our state accreditation. The problem we're having now is everybody's trying to get accredited, because it's kind of the thing that all law enforcement are getting into. So hopefully we're ahead of a lot of them. I think us and I think Clemson University, their police department, I think we're at the top of the list that we're getting through. So hopefully we'll get done before the bulk of the crowd that's overloading them now. Crime scene investigation unit's pretty much up and running. We got a few little tweaks we're doing there, but we're getting there. We'll still call SLED's crime scene unit on major crimes, homicides and all, but we'll have our crime scene unit for a lot of stuff that we don't need to call SLED for. We officially have an SRO in every Kershaw County school, and we're planning on starting our DARE program with our elementary and middle school. This is going to be one of the things we're trying to do for our future to keep kids off of drugs. We haven't seen the best of numbers in some of the DARE programs in the past, but we got to do something. So we're looking to get that into both elementary and middle schools. Unless there's any questions, I'm going to hand it over to our coroner.
Comments, ladies and gentlemen? Great job out there, and SROs was wonderfully received by everyone I see out in the county. Thank you, Sheriff. And I think you're near full staffing right now, correct?
Yeah, we've got 2, and actually I know we've got more than 2 certified applicants in our pool that we're digging through right now, but so we're not danger low. Did you have a question?
I did.
Yeah.
I just kind of going back to thank you, Mr. Chair. Going back to the numbers. So, those are calls or incidents? I mean, or kind of one and the same.
Which one are we talking about?
Just in general. So you've had a decrease.
Yeah, these are calls. And as far as our total calls for service, since I've been in office, we've gone over 100,000 calls total. These are the calls we get for each one that you're looking at.
So the only increase we've had is as far as the assaults. Everything else is in a so am I reading that as that's a good thing, right? We have less overdoses and
yes, you got less. No, not the overdose. The overdose calls have gone up. That's just the largest increase. We went from 27 in 2020
to 48. Okay, now I see it. Sorry, I was
so that was
colorblind for a little bit.
Yeah, that's a huge increase there. That.
And so, just real quick on the use of force from 19 to 20 to 21, do you contribute that probably to kind of how you were, because that's kind of when you came in the office 1920, maybe how you were reporting that differently than like years past?
Yeah, we report it now, and it's with the current times.
Yeah.
Now with use of force, we report anything shy of putting the handcuffs on somebody and putting them in the car. If you have to help them to do anything you have to do outside of it, we're doing a report. So the numbers are going to be higher because we're reporting everything.
Because
Everything
you were trying to just cover all your bases.
Absolutely.
So, okay.
We have at this time, we have a use of force board that every Monday meets and looks over everyone. Our supervisors, they're required to investigate any use of forces during their shift. And if there's an injury involved, they respond to the scene and have access to an investigator should they need to call them out. So we really had to step that up. And that's law enforcement everywhere in general. That we're dealing with that now, and we're doing the best we can to stay on top of it.
Thank you, sir.
You sure are. Can I have these
Mr.
charts
Chairman?
afterwards, Danny? Thank you, Sheriff. Well done. Good to see you.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ben has a question, please.
Sheriff, I wanted to ask you about the overdoses and Narcan administrations. So the numbers went away, but, oh yeah, there it goes. So I get calls in the community about repeat Narcan administrations or the same people overdosing again and again. And I'm wondering, the move from 2020 to 2021, that whatever it is, a 70% increase or so in overdoses, that represents something totally new in the community, a bunch of new people overdosing and drugs proliferating, or does that represent some of the same people overdosing
We do
more?
have some. Those are total calls, so some of those are duplicates. And we do have some that we've administered Narcan multiple times too. And then as long as we got it, we'll keep administering it to whoever needs it. We're not gonna deny somebody Narcan. I know some people have the attitude that you should limit them, but that's I think Paul Napper with Alpha Center, one of the things he said that always stuck with me is everybody is worth another shot and worth another chance. So we're gonna do our part to, hopefully they'll come around for us. But
Yeah, I'm certainly not suggesting that you don't save someone's life with Narcan if you have one. But what I am wondering is, how do you break the cycle of, someone that food for the soul or, have repeat overdoses right there and people trying to figure out how to deal with that?
if we could figure that answer out, we would definitely be going in the right direction. There's a lot of stuff we're doing now. We're working with mental health. I don't know if you've seen in some of the other counties, Richland County's got them where you have a mental health professional assigned to the sheriff's office. We're working on one of those now. And Vic, it's going to be no cost to us as mental health's picking up the tab on it. But we're in the process of that, doing what we can. Again, it's one of those that everybody believes that locking up the problem is going to solve it, but it's not. I mean, it's not. And even, we lock up dealers all the time, and we'll continue to lock up dealers. And we even send investigators out when we have overdose deaths, and they try to investigate to see the source of where it came from. There's a federal charge you can put on somebody with that, and we've been seeking that. And I think we've actually made one of those charges so far. So we're going after the dealer, but a user that's hooked on this drug, they're going to find a dealer somewhere. If we lock up every dealer in Kershaw County, they're going to go to a bordering county. I've seen it done. I've had parents call me up about their kids, and they're going to other counties when they can't find it here. So,
In your experience, are those cases where we are locking people up being actively prosecuted and the judiciary is doing their part?
again, one of the overwhelming problems we got in the courthouse right now is everything is so backed up that you only got so much court time, and they're playing catch up on where they're at now. We're seeing them go away, but when you start comparing what they have to deal with as far as going to trial, you have a murder, armed robbery, and a drug charge. They tend to look at a drug charge as victimless, although we know it's not a victimless crime. So,
Okay, thank you, Sheriff.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Hey, David? Thank you, Sheriff. Okay, David West Corner. Bring that
Thank
microphone down to the normal level.
I need a stool here. Okay. Thank y'all for having us tonight. Of course, our stats is up big time this year. We had 855 deaths for the year. If I learn how to use this thing here. If you'll see behind you there, that'll give you, since I took office in 2015, we have come up 56% in deaths. Now, I'd say Kershaw County's growing. I blame a lot of it on that. And y'all can see our traffic deaths right there is 25. Out of that traffic deaths, that's the most we've ever had. Out of the traffic deaths, out of 25, 11 of them is drug and alcohol. Homicides, 10. I know Lee's report says 5. Believe it or not, 5's in the city of Camden. because I know January we had 3 right there together from a house fire on 2 of them. 2 died in one house, and then 1 died in another house where it was set on fire. Drownings, 1. And that's, I thank goodness for that, and thank the good Lord for that one there, because we have Lake Watery, and people love the water. We're lucky there. Suicides, 14. We up on that a little bit. And I would have thought 2020 that suicides would have been 40 to 50 because of COVID, everybody having to stay home, but thank goodness it wasn't. But this year was 14. Accidental deaths, 8. Now, accidental deaths is falls, people falling and stuff and getting hurt, and we list that in there. House fires is in there too. Overdose, we got 24 up there, but now it's 28. And we got 8 pending. We're waiting on tops to get back on them. And that's from autopsies and stuff. And of course, the natural deaths is 667 comes to a total of 773. That comes to 855 deaths for the year in Kershaw County. Anybody have any questions on that?
Comments, anybody? Well, natural deaths went up 100, and our overall
100.
deaths went up 100. So there seems to be some kind of correlation here. I appreciate the overdose thing, really worries me.
Yes.
And the traffic accidents, doggone it, that I thought, are those mostly like drug and alcohol related?
11 of them were.
11.
Out of 25, 11 of them were drug and alcohol related.
Don't drive while intoxicated.
Nope. Well, here's the COVID deaths. 2020, we had 74, 8 non-residents. 2021, it's altogether, I had to redo some stuff. It's 124 of all the the COVID deaths. And out of like 18 was non-residents. And when I say non-residents, Springdale Healthcare, they taking them from Charleston, Goose Creek, from all over. And they take them to the hospital when they get real bad and they die up here. Of course, it's not a Kershaw County death, not a residence, but we count it as our death here.
Wow. Can you give us some good news that the death rate on Omicron is down or not?
I would love to, but it's starting to rise a little bit now.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately.
So it's still with us.
It's still with us. It's not as bad as it was last year this time. I mean, right now for the year, we had 105 deaths already for this year. Yeah, and I don't think but maybe 9 of them are COVID. So we can't blame it on COVID.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Comments, gentlemen? Thank you. All right. Thank you, David. Good report.
Thank y'all.
Cato?
Yes, sir. How y'all doing?
Great. Good to see you.
I'm going to give you a brief overview of the numbers at Kershaw County Detention Center. Last year, 2021, we intake 2,015 inmates. Our average daily population right now is 107. We were built for 89. Of those 2,015, the male intake was 1,561. The female intake was 454. Due to the fact that we got limited female space and kind of gets a little complicated, plus with the males, due to COVID and everything, it gets a little complicated, but currently we have 0 COVID in the facility. Our medical numbers have actually gone up. Last year we did 4,224 medical visits. That's in-house, out-house, OBGYNs, everything that needs to be taken care of with an inmate while they're there, we have to take care of it. So we're up and down the road in the facility, making sure that they get the care that they need. Medical continued. Our mental health numbers, if you pay close attention to that, last year we had 102. This year, I believe we're up to 193. But last year, 2021, we up to 193. 2020, we were at 102. So those mental health issues are actually rising. We actually partner with Kershaw County Mental Health, and actually we pay for extra mental health hours. I believe we get about 5 days a week, 3 hours each day, so that we can actually get these people seen, get them the help that they actually need. Plus, we work with the probate court to actually get her involved when, we reach a roadblock. SCDC transfers.
Fancy.
Kind of went down. Before COVID, we was moving some cases around about 76. We're going to SCDC year, then we dropped down to COVID. And last year, 2021, we did 55. which actually shows there's a backlog in the judiciary system, like the sheriff actually said, because we're not moving too many general session cases. Litter pickup, bright spot, we picked up 1,290 bags last year. That's with the Kershaw County Detention Center using inmate labor and actually using our maintenance guy and our actual part-time litter guy. So that's what we do to actually contribute to the county. Accomplishments, Kershaw County Detention Center is now an accredited school. We have a GED program. I believe next month we're going to be graduating about 7 or 8 people, so look forward to that. We also got a body scanner that we put in the service first part of January, and we actually found contraband on 3 inmates. So we're keeping it from getting in the facility. We actually upgraded our live scan, which actually communicates back and forth with SLED so that we can actually get those records in quickly. And we actually upgraded our walkthrough system, which actually allows us to log it real time, just in case we got any legal issues, anything pops up. And that's it for us.
Questions for Cato?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Ben.
quick question. Between males and females, what was the total population that you have now?
Right now,
Mhm.
the males, I believe the males are 1,561 and the females are 454. That's how many was arrested last year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Snodgrass, go ahead.
So between the three presentations, I keep hearing a common theme of mental health. And I was able to attend a workshop that Judge Branham put on where somebody, and you guys, you can remind me of this. It's a program from the state. It's a mental health, almost like I don't want to use the word SWAT team, but it's a mental health response team. Yeah. So are we taking advantage of that, or is that helping us at all?
Well, that would work more for the road. Doesn't really work too well for the facility.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know there was some talk that sometimes they come to the facility, I guess.
Yeah, they can come to the facility, but while they're in there, I mean, we already got our mental health team actually there, so
Okay.
kind of eliminates that.
All right. And also, kudos on the body scanner. That was a grant. Is that correct?
No, sir.
Okay. But
Actually cost the county nothing. We just used money that we already had.
yeah, thanks for Cato came and presented to one of my civic club, and I won't go into that detail because of the audience here, but you'd just be surprised the things that scanner picked up and where it picked up, and just grateful that we had that.
Yes, sir.
So thanks for the innovation.
Thank you,
Other
sir.
comments?
And, good job on the 3D slides there, sir, too.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for your support to the Clean Community Commission. The winter period ends, and we're starting to see trash out on the roads again. We'll see the Clean Community Commission out there again with your help.
All right.
I'm very interested when we get into the working sessions during the budget on your medical and mental health costs. It's the humanitarian right thing to do to take care of these unfortunates, but it costs you money and it costs the county money. And it's the right thing to do. Other comments? Well, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Sheriff. And I appreciate the coroner coming in. Thank you, Cato.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Can you
it.
hear me?
Mr. Tucker wants to speak.
Oh, Mr. Tucker, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yes, the forgotten child. To Ben, I just wanted to comment on what Ben was talking about with the deaths in the Norcan. I think it runs a little deeper than that. I've had several people who have received their medicine in the mail, and it comes with the oxycodone and all that they ship Norcan to. And I can assure you, if the coroner's still there, most of those folks who are dying from overdose, it's fentanyl. So until we get our hands around and our heads around that, you're going to continue to see an increase in these deaths of overdosing.
Yeah. Thank you, Sammy. Any other comments? My apologies, Sammy. I should have gone to you first.
That's okay.
David, if you can come up to the mic.
He brought up the fentanyl. We've had people to tell us that whenever somebody dies from an overdose, the druggies flock to that dealer to get it from them because they know it's good stuff. We had one on Precipice Road, lost one in the yard. 2 of them fell out at the same time. And the boy that sold it to him told him, he named the person, said, "Be careful there, I just killed so-and-so." And they had to flock to get it. And 2 boys, they were friends, and they were They were at the mom and daddy's house. One of them's mama's house. The kid fell out in the road, fell out in the front yard, and the other one went in the house. The kid that lived there, he fell out in the house. They called 911. 911 gets there, there's one in the yard. The ambulance starts working on him, shooting him. He comes back too. And they go outside and say, hey, we need you inside here. They said, we got one right here, but the other one didn't make it in the house.
Yeah.
So they'll flock to it, especially at fentanyl.
A terrible story. Thank you for that. A warning to everybody listening. Thank you very much, Sheriff Cato, David. I appreciate it. All right, we'll move on in the agenda now. We've got a public presentation from the Bethune Town Council. Item number 2. Will that be Mr. Heflin? Would you come up? Thank you. And John, would you introduce any members of your council who are with us tonight?
Good afternoon. I'm John Heflin. I'm on town council, and one of my colleagues, Kenneth McCaskill, is out in the audience. Our intentions were for everyone to be here, but something came up at the last minute, so that did not happen. Let me speak a little bit, then I'll give you something, because me being personally, if I get something, then I may not pay attention as well. And I'm from the school, and I know most of you personally. Two of you I really don't know as well as I know the others. But I do, I'll come back to that. But I'm from the school. I remember when I was a little kid, I wanted to, I never really went outside of Kershaw County or Lee County. And I remember my neighbor went on vacation every year, and I really wanted to go with him. And I was really scared to ask, because I'm still a very quiet and shy person, although some people may not believe that. But I remember seeing something on his mother's coffee table that says, if you never ask, you will never know. So I'm here to talk about the Vision 2030, your plan that was presented to our town council. And to be honest with you, point blank, we kind of just tabled it, because there was a few hints of something about Bethune in there and the Bethune community. I'm speaking not only for the town of Bethune, but also the Bethune community. And so we talked about it, and we said, well, we need something in there. And so Mr. Burns came to our meeting, and I used this phrase. I said, it's time for our turn for some of the meat and the potatoes. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because since I've been on town council and I've just been sitting here thinking, I don't think that I can remember that our body of government has ever come to this meeting to ask for anything. Now, you may say, if some of you have been here long enough, well, we've given the town of Bethune X. Well, that may have been the mayor that's written a letter or something like that. But as a body, since I've been on town council, I don't remember that ever happening. Everything in life has to have a vision. If you don't have a vision, then you die. And you have to have a vision to flourish in some areas. And, we have a new mayor, 3 new council members, and our former mayor is on town council, and, we welcome his knowledge of the past to help us in the present. So what I'm going to give you is something that we've thought about long and hard. I know some of you may say, well, some of these things can be done. Some of these things can't be done. We can do one. We can't do all of them. Well, again, we want to schedule a time for you all to come as a collective body to Bethune so we can physically show you these things. One of these things on this agenda, on this list, it says, and I'm not going to go through all of them unless you have questions about them. It says to clean up Big Lynch's River and Little Lynch's River. Okay, let me explain that. There's a lot of history in the Lynch's River.
What are you reading from?
Sir?
Where'd you get that information? Are you looking at the 2030 vision?
No, sir. I got something, Councilman, that I'm going to give you, but I'm reading from my notes.
Oh, I got you.
Okay.
I just wondered, where did you get that info? Who's going to clean up?
No. That is something that's on our agenda, the town's agenda. So as I was saying, there's a lot of history with the Lynch's River. without the Lynch's River, Bethune would never have come to be. Mr. McCaskill on his family's property, and I won't go into great details, but there's some great evidence of this from the Civil War. I was kind of amazed when I put my eyes on some things. I didn't see everything that I've been told about throughout the entire Lynch's River. I know there's a lot of snakes. I know there's a lot of debris from Hurricane Hugo that just kind of was clean and it washed right back in. Again, if you never ask, you'll never know. And you have to have a vision. There's, could be great kayak tours throughout Bethune. Very similar to some things we have in West Wateree. But a lot of history there. One of the other things that I do want to mention, because if I only think two of you were on council when the gym burned in Bethune. And one of the things on there, it says that we would like a stage in that current building. And that's some of the things that we would like to talk to you about when you come to Bethune, so we can go into a lot more detail, because I don't want to sit here, and I know you got a lot of things to do and important things, but that gym included a stage. My grandmother, actually during the days of segregation, worked at the old school and eventually the new high school before integration, and that was the gym that was shared for all of the schools in that area, in the Bethune schools, I should say, not the Carver schools, the Bethune schools. And those are things that you don't know, and I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying that once you come there, we can explain to you some of these things, and I think then you can understand some of the compassion in that we have for these things. So before, I have a few more things. Again, I don't believe in being long-winded, but I do want to give you these, and then I'm going to
pass
continue.
them out to Mary. Now, John, I emailed these to all the members of council. I don't know that they've read them yet, but I do appreciate that you're passing them out. Thank you.
Okay, and again, I just would ask you to go back and look at your Vision 2030 plan, and I expect my colleague Melissa to come here and do the same thing for Elgin. I expect Mayor Drayford to do the same thing for the city of Camden. I say that every area should toot their own horn and say, hey, we need something. And that's simply what we're doing. Nothing more, nothing less. So I think that walking tour around Bethune would probably surprise some of you. One of the other things on there is about sewer. And I know that that's been a heated topic because of the sewer fee. And we don't expect the county council to open a wallet and say, here, Bethune, here you go. But we just want some help. And that's simply all we're asking for. About 6 years ago, one of the leaders of Alligator Water over in McBee said, hey, the sewer is right at the bridge of US 1, the Lynch's River Bridge. It's easily bring it under the bridge and through the city, through the town of Bethune for commercial use. I don't think that we can afford residential sewer at this time, probably never in my lifetime. But if we're going to change Bethune, we have to have this. And why are all these things important? It's important as I met a guy in the Dollar General, our Walmart Supercenter in Bethune last Saturday. And he had a handful of stuff, and I had a buggy, and I said, sir, go in front of me. And he said, well, I appreciate it. And so, like I do most of the times when I see somebody in Bethune, it's like, hey, where are you from? He says, well, I live here now. I said, well, where were you originally from? He said, I'm originally from Hawaii. I just moved here recently. So about 2 weeks ago, I met a guy who just moved to Bethune. He lives about 10 or 15 minutes outside of Washington, D.C., and actually Warrenton, Virginia. And he just bought a house. His wife can work remotely anywhere in the country. And that's something that myself and our mayor have talked about. And I think that's something that COVID has forced us to kind of look at. And I tell you of those two, and I can tell you also other people have built houses in Bethune. I was talking to my cousin yesterday, and back in the day, they live in Trenton, New Jersey, and back in the day, near where they grew up with my grandparents and their parents, was telling her about McCaskill Road in Bethune. There's a house on McCaskill Road in Bethune that's $800,000. It is beautiful. It is huge. And I told her they will get that price for it. I guarantee you in a year from now, I can come back and tell you the house was sold because people are moving to Bethune. And those are things that are probably not publicized, and that's something that I promised myself within the next 2 years that I have to be a lot more vocal because I'll leave it at that. I just need to be more vocal. One of the things Susan our mayor, has also done, she has met with leaders from Duke Energy, and they would like to partner with us on this Lynch's River boats, putting a boat in, kayaking, et cetera. It's all kind of tied in together. So, again, I could have came tonight with pictures of all of these places to give you an in-depth tour, but I'm a firm believer that you need to go put your hands on some things to see what we're talking about. And again, since I've been on council, we've never come here to ask for anything other than what I've said. I think there was some money given for water, and that was probably through a letter, but it's not been through a unified body. And my colleagues would have been here tonight, but something else came up. But we will be back again together. And I think that's very important for everyone to see that. I also invite you to our town council meeting. It's this Thursday at 7 o'clock at the Bethune Rec Center. We're going to do some things that are going to be special. I am from the school that you give a person their flowers while they can smell them. And there's been some things that's been heavy on my heart recently, and we're going to do those things. It's a little bit different, probably, than your meeting. I think everybody's meeting is a little bit different. And our meeting is a lot different than it was about 3 months ago. But that's always a good thing as well. But before I sit down, again, I would like to schedule a tour. And I know Councilman Tucker, who's on the phone, will help lead the way through his police days. But I would like to answer or entertain any thoughts or questions that you all may have.
Okay, we have a few minutes for questions. Mr. Tucker first.
Yes, sir. I was up to mute myself. Councilman Heflin, yes, sir, I will. And I appreciate your presentation. And I would say that I'm sorry I have not been able to get up with you before this, but it's duly noted that you guys have turned another page and moving forward. So I am more than happy to be involved and engaged.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sammy. Mr. Jones, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the County Council. Welcome, Councilman, both of you. Appreciate y'all being here. And you are correct, Bethune is a very beautiful part of our county, and I've always thought that. I have a lot of families up there that are close friends as well. I have a couple of questions. I need some clarification, and maybe you can give it to me. What is the town of Bethune's source of revenue?
We are on local option sales tax. Before my days on town council, there was town taxes. And the council, and obviously had to go through a vote, went to local option sales tax. We make no secrets. We would like to extend the town limits of Bethune. Right now, we have an aging population. And I don't think that you could put taxes on, I would never vote to put taxes on those people for obvious reasons, being on a fixed income. But local option sales tax and franchise fees and those types of things.
What is your budget every year? About how much?
It varies. I will get you that. We actually had for the first time since I've been on town council, and I think I've been on town council about 15, 18 years total. And for the first time since I've been on town council, we had a meeting about 2 weeks ago that we basically took our budget from July that was approved and basically dissected and says, okay, this is what we spent, this is what's left, and where we're short. Do you remember how much that total?
But that's
I'll
okay.
get that to
We
you.
won't spend much time on it. You can get it to me at any time. I appreciate that. You know, you have your vision there. I see you have your vision 2030. We have our vision 2030. One thing that I'm going to touch on later on in this evening is when we get to the planning zone, which absolutely relates to those folks that got up here and spoke tonight. That's why we got it on the agenda. But getting back to you is that the one thing about our vision 2030, there's no money with it. It's a empty sheet of paper. Whereas our vision, you know, when you talk about development, when you talk about roads, infrastructure, things that y'all are interested in, our vision is really the comprehensive plan, which is done every 10 years by state law, which we have, I feel like, sort of neglected, getting wrapped up in some other things and pushing another direction, which we're going to have to get back on, which our comprehensive plan certainly relates to our zoning ordinance as well, too. The dots have got to connect because they don't right now. But we talk about money. Have you been given, were you told that you might get a certain amount of money from Kershaw County this year for Bethune?
Not officially. We have not been told that.
Was a figure mentioned to you?
Not to me. Not to me.
How about Elgin?
Not to me.
Okay, so there's no number given.
Not specifically to me. No.
Okay, well, you talked to me. What was the numbers you talked to me, and you were telling me that you were told that.
Our mayor said that. No, she said that Elgin was going to ask for some money, and
how much?
I think it was $1 million. I think she told me
from us.
And I really hate quoting her since she's not here. And she said that we could possibly get about 20,000 is what she said.
From who?
She said possibly from council, county council.
The mayor of Bethune told you that you could probably get $20,000 from Kershaw County Council.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know she was on Kershaw County Council. But anyway, I guess I say this, John, because bottom line, I mean, there's only so many dollars out there. And let me tell you something. I do support the folks in Bethune. I support everybody in this county. But, you know, we just got to make sure we're all on the same page here. You know, I have a little bit of a irritation when I get a phone call or when I'm talking to somebody and I feel like that there's been a commitment made or a recommendation, and council it hadn't been brought before me. But anyway, it goes back to, like I said, we're going to be moving forward with what I call the true vision of Kershaw County, which is going to be the comprehensive plan. And I hope that you guys will get to stay and listen and participate in that with us, you know, at some point in time in the future. But I'm always open to talk with you. I will be scheduling a tour with you. I'd love to come up there. I've been up there many, many times over the last 16 years. I just believe in total transparency, being open to any and everything that we bring up or we talk about. But one person on this council cannot commit this council to anything, and certainly no member of any other council, and no pun intended. I mean, you just sat there and told me that you were told that you could probably get $1 million from this county by a member of the Elgin Town Council, which is unfortunate, because I just don't think that's the way we work up here. But I think you've done a great job. I have a lot of respect for you, and
thank you.
And I truly mean that. And you and I both known each other a long time, and I don't think either one of us would say it to each other unless we meant it.
That's right.
I certainly wouldn't, and I don't think you would either. But anyway, thank you for what you're doing, and welcome here tonight. And maybe if we can all pull together, we might can see what happens.
Was there any other questions?
Other questions? Mr. Gardner, go ahead.
John, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. I know that I'm in my 12th year on council, and I know that periodically I've been going to meetings and stuff, but, when I first got elected 12 years ago, I was over at council meetings, and I asked all the council members, I said, I can't be here every time, but, if you'd call me, I'll be here on anything that you ever get. That first 4 years, you know how many times y'all called me?
Probably none.
One, you called me one time. You called me one time and, to come over specifically. So I think part of that is just why you're here tonight is there has been no dialogue, from y'all to us. And, when you don't say anything, you don't get anything.
That's right.
So let's so you really haven't asked for anything. And so that's probably one reason you haven't got anything. Now, I know we gave you some money for the water thing. I know I did that. Don Witham called me, and we made that happen. We got some money to paint your water tower. We got a EMS station built up in that area that is 9 minutes from Bethune on response time that we have. So we have done some things up there. Obviously, you need more things, and I'm not here to say we can do it or can't do it, but, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're bringing attention to some of these things that need to be done. Going back to the gym that burned, that was before I got on council. All the things had been done before I got here, and what was built in that rec facility is what was asked for, because I went back and looked, and I don't know if you were on council at that time, but and I agree, it should have been a gym. Personally, I think we should have built back what you had, but that was before my time. So,
Well, actually, I was on town council, and that's when I ran for mayor and lost by, I think, 8 or 10 votes. And I was a part of those meetings here in this building, and I specifically said we wanted a gym. But when my time as council was over, I was not invited, well, not by county council, but by our council, not invited to participate with that. So I did express those interests, and we wanted a gym. There's a lot of things that go on in Bethune on the weekend. That building gets used a lot. Right now, it needs some work to the outside sidewalks. It's all broken. Someone's going to fall. Someone actually did fall at one of our meetings. But yes, we did, and I appreciate what you have done. And that's why I kind of scanned the crowd before I mentioned the gym. And I knew if anybody was on council, would either been you or Councilman Jones, because I know no one else has been here that long. But I'm going to sit down. But before I sit down, I came up with this thing some years ago, myself and some others calling Bethune the Island Town. In order to enter or exit Bethune, you must cross the Lynches River. And if you talk about water support down the road, myself and a former manager of Sand Hills Bank met with a guy, and he said, a company like Coors would die to come here. He said, do you know the water pressure, the aquifer that you have here in Bethune? He said, yours is better than Denver. And so there's a lot of things, I could sit up here all day and talk, but I think that's why this little walking tour would be a lot better. So you can put hands and you can see things. And I think it will give you a better perspective of Kershaw County. And one of my friends, Kevin Culp, and most of you probably know Kevin. Kevin used to come to the house to watch, he used to come to watch WWE wrestling on Monday night because our cable provider in Bethune had it, and here in Camden they didn't. And he said to me, he says, it's going to cost me all of this to spend more gas. And I said, well, coming to Bethune is a little bit easier for you. I said, because you can cruise in the curves where you don't have to spend as much gas. So I say that to you. And we look forward to you again, 7 o'clock Thursday night, our town council meeting. You're going to hate you miss it if you don't come.
Yeah, Mr. Brazel has first dibs, and I'll go to you, David. Go ahead, Mr. Brazel.
I'm sorry.
Hey, John, I'm probably one of the guys that you don't know as well.
I met you at the Vision 2030 at the district office. We were on a little coloring things together.
Yeah, that's right. Kevin and I are the same age, so you and I are probably about the same age then, if y'all are buddies. So your cleanup, you want to clean up the Lynches River, the little Lynches and the big Lynches. Did we talk about what we did on the watery? It turned out really great.
No, I read in the paper what happened, but no, we haven't.
It was a great community effort. I mean, I think you guys can do the same thing if you want any what to do, what not to do. We learned a lot, and we're going to do it again.
You pulled a jet ski out.
No, I didn't pull it out, but we did have somebody pull a jet ski out in pieces.
Yeah,
so there was all kind of trash in the river. But if you ever want to just sit down and chat, I'm happy to. I'll give you my card and give you my cell phone number. And I'd be more than happy to help connect you with some folks that help me.
Mr. Snodgrass, sir. Thank you.
Hey,
Mr.
John,
President.
thanks for coming, man.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming and speaking up. You know, 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't think Kershaw County knew where East Camden was, and so I ran and been bring that to the conversation. So
I applaud you for that, and I think you had a conversation, or Mr. Templer and I had a conversation, and I never noticed that. There's no street lights in East Camden.
That's right.
That is sad.
Yeah.
Because our students get off of
You're at
I-20.
the academy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Our students get off of I-20 and they travel the back way, and that's their vision of Camden, which I tell them every day, that's not a great vision of Camden.
Yeah.
Just a plug there for Camden, not only.
But we're getting there.
Bethune.
We're getting there.
Yep.
Have you spoken with any members of our legislative delegation about this?
Susan has. Our mayor.
Okay, and I would just encourage you to just keep on tapping into that because your Bethune is about Speaker Lucas is getting Bethune back in his district, and so that's going to be. I mean, talk about advantageous to funding. The Speaker of the House is going to be your House rep, and so I would be sure to make sure you keep him in the conversation as well as Will Wheeler and some of the others that are out there. And then as far as for your gym, you know. Have you guys looked at PARD grants? That may be something that would be eligible, that would maybe fall under Parks and Rec?
We have, and
I'm not trying to put you off. Like
Right.
I'll help you.
Right.
I'm just trying to throw out some other ideas as well.
And we will do that, but I kind of just threw Jim, and I didn't go into great details because I think, and again, that walking tour, we can educate you a little bit better than just
Yeah.
here.
If I come, we're going to Main Street Grill.
We'll go to combination.
Okay.
There's Main Street Grills, there's Bracey's Cafe,
All right,
and the chicken at the Exxon is unreal.
I've heard
Trust
about
me.
the chicken at Exxon. I've only had the fish at the Main Street Grill though, but I want to come to Exxon too.
But Councilman Gardner said he was not on town council. Councilman Jones, were you on town council when the gym burned?
I was here.
Basically, it was a gym with an upstairs. It was a basement. The Council on Aging used it. I grew up through the county rec department in there. And we have pictures, but it was just not built back exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming anyone.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying
But
part.
yes, but we
part
like
may
to show
be
that.
a revenue as well. So
Right.
I'll reach out to you, man. I'd love to catch up
Okay.
with you. I love Bethune, and I love visiting there, and I'd love to go there with you.
Okay.
About 4 of you have my number, so please pass it along. Thank you for having us.
Hang on, John. Let me close it up. Thanks for coming. Give my best regards to Susan, and we will follow up. Ken, thank you for coming, and thank you for your service on the Santee Lynch's Rivers COG. And it's very important. That's a wonderful representation for you as well as Speaker Lucas. Just a couple of things, okay? In the last 8 years or so, I've come to just about every one of your town councils. I'll miss you one this week. Sorry. But I've watched this body through Vic Carpenter improve the rec center. We've got to fix that sidewalk. They fixed the HVAC recently, and they fixed the floors last month, as you know. You and I have worked with the Sand Hills phone company to get Wi-Fi down your streets, and that's going on pretty good, I think. And then Mr. Gardner and others have supported the improvement to your water tower. The EMS station now is in a very good response position to help your town. And of course, this body has advocated for the clinic downtown in Bethune. And of course, we have that very good trash point right downtown in Bethune that we run for you. And recently, with the fire station, they're nearly full-time manned now for the first time in years because of the actions that this body took to provide funding and training for your fire station. In fact, the last time I saw you, there were 10 people in that fire station training that night, last month. And then, of course, we have the new fire station going in at Cassett, which would provide better service. So the county is reaching out to Bethune in many very effective ways. I think you would agree on that. But with regard to your request that came in tonight, the proposal is we put it in, as I told your mayor last week, is to put that request into the retreat process and discuss it in the county retreat that's coming up and prioritize it so we can work a relationship going forward. So the idea is we have a ready-made process that starts next week, and John, we will look at those. And with those, John, thanks for coming and a safe journey back up north, okay?
Thank you, and we will send you some dates, possibly. We'll do it on a weekend, so it's
Great.
more daylight on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
I'll do it during the weekday.
Well over time, but well-spent time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. With that,
Chairman,
yeah, Sammy, go ahead.
before he walked away, because I would say this in my council briefing, but I was there doing the replacing of the gym, and let it be known that we built back what we had money to build back. We spent every dime that was recovered from the insurance company, plus county put money into that. I'm not saying that they don't need to be updated and some things done to add to that by now, but I think the biggest thing that John's trying to express, and John, if I'm misspeaking for you, let me know, is number one, it's kind of hard to come in someone's house whose house is messy. The Toontown Council house has been messy, very messy since I've been on, and this is my 18th year. So with that being said, I think they got their house in order. Now they're inviting us back so we can have a more collaborative effort and get more things done. And if I've misspoken, John, please correct me.
No, you have not misspoken. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much there, John. We move to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of minutes on page 4, and it's on tab A in your electronic book. And on the screen, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Gardner, a second.
Second.
Second from Mr. Connell. Any discussion? Sammy? No. With that, we move to a vote. Sammy, how do you vote?
Yes.
And all others signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous. The minutes are approved. We move to the next item, which is at tab B and page 7 in your electronic books, and also up on the screen, an ordinance, which is a third reading of an ordinance, the execution of a fee in lieu tax for project, is this one panel? Yes, project panel. Mr. Carpenter, can you tell us what we have here, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of council, you have in front of you tonight for third reading the approval for the ordinance that authorizes the delivery of a fee in lieu to the company we've referred to as Project Panel, which is Pinnacle Precast Concrete Company. It's previously been approved by council on 2 readings.
Thank you. Can we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Mr. Jones, a second.
Second.
Second from Mr. Connell. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Jones.
We're looking at how many acres? 61?
Yes, sir, about 60, exactly.
Anyway, 61 plus acres.
Yes.
And 8 million investment, correct?
67 acres.
67 acres, 8 million investment and 80 jobs,
That's
correct?
Yes, sir.
And this is Pinnacle LLC.
Yes, sir.
And their precast, is that concrete?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, precast concrete. I want to say to our Economic Development Director, job well done, good job. And I'd also like to say that, for years, nothing happened in economic development till we got new leadership in economic development. And I was very instrumental in getting new leadership here for economic development. So these are the kind of results I want to see from staff. And I just wanted to make that mention, which was a very true statement.
Bold.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Tucker?
None.
Seeing there are no comments, we move to a vote. How do you vote, Sammy?
Yes.
Yes, and all others signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous, Mary. We move on to old business now, a timeline and procedures to facilitate council action inquiring as to the planning and zoning variances, flexibility, and ZLD ordinance and revision. It's at tab C. It's also on the screen, and page 38 in your book. Mary, would you make a note that Mr. Snodgrass has departed? We're down to 6. With that, we're into the introduction of that. I think it's Mr. Carpenter to introduce as he was directed to report back. Please, Mr. Carpenter.
Point of order, if I may, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, just a point of order. Mr. Carpenter was out sick with the COVID, and I actually had this put on the agenda through the attorney. So I think to follow your protocol, that I should have first stop at it to make a motion, and then we can get into discussion with, and that would be in line with your protocol that you've always done by.
All right, if we want to make a
recognizing-
motion, then yeah, please go
Yeah,
ahead, Jimmy.
okay.
What's
So-
your motion?
So therefore, you're asking me, okay. My motion is that the proposed timeline and procedure to facilitate council action inquiring as to planning and zoning variances, flexibility in ZLDR ordinance, ZLDR, and revisions of ZLDR. And you have a copy, folks.
All right, can we have a second? Yeah, it's in the packet. We got a second from Mr. Brazel. Very good, it's on the table. Jimmy, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, very much. If you'll look at that sheet that was put into the agenda package, you'll see the objections, you'll see the objectives, and the proposal is what I call them. That's like adding flexibility to the zoning land ordinance to make it more user-friendly, make administration of ZLDR more user-friendly, as I said, add clarity to the ordinance to make it more efficient and user-friendly, including granting variances, which I think one gentleman was here for. So yes, this does participate to you. I don't like what happened to you. And I'll say it at open session of county council, and I know I'm not alone up here. Somebody else feels the same way. But anyway, and also to meet at least quarterly with the Kershaw County School District planning and zoning matters, including industrial, commercial, and residential growth. And as you can see, there's a timeline that has been put in this. Is Mr. Conley here?
Yes, he's in the back.
Mr. Conley, would you come up 1 second, please, if I could? First, I want to start by thanking you for your work and your effort in, pulling this together tonight.
Yes, sir.
Are you in agreement with these timelines? I mean, this is a workable timeline that we have here, isn't it?
I assisted with the attorney to develop this timeline, yes, sir.
So it is a reasonable timeline.
We believe so.
Good, thank you, I do too. I had a constituent, they sent me a question dealing with the comprehensive plan, which I understand is a Kershaw County ordinance that zoning ordinances must follow as and is required by state law. Is that correct?
I'm not following
The
the
comprehensive plan is a plan that we're required to have by state law.
Yes.
Yes, and it's updated every 10 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and of course, our land ordinance needs to be connected with that. It needs to flow together, correct? Work together off
Yes,
each
sir,
other.
ideally, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Can I ask you a question? Can you explain the comprehensive plan and what its position is as far as zoning is concerned? Can you give an explanation on that?
I'm not following your question.
Okay. Explain what the comprehensive plan is and the position of that as far as the zoning ordinance goes.
Well, the comprehensive plan is basically your policy outlook to establish your zoning regulations. So the comprehensive plan gives you your policy outlook and your framework, and then you set your regulatory standards below that.
Right. And of course, the comprehensive plan is, it states, I think in state law, that the governing authority may provide for the reference of any matters or class of matters to the local planning commission with the provision, the final action on it not be taken until the planning commission has submitted a report on it as had a reasonable period of time as determined by the governing authority to submit a report. When I look through the state law and I look at the local planning comprehensive planning process, it's a result of the systematic preparation, continual reevaluation, the updating, and any elements considered critical, necessary, and described to guide the development and redevelopment of its area jurisdiction. So basically, the comprehensive plan is kind of like our roadmap.
Yes, sir.
For our vision.
Yes, sir.
By state law.
We're required by state law to have it, yes, sir.
I'm correct on all those. How does Vision 2030 fit in?
Vision 2030 doesn't fit into the 1994 Planning Act.
Thank you. But therefore, when we talk about growth, we talk about development, redevelopment, we talk about zoning, the comprehensive plan is our vision. I mean, because that's what the Planning Commission put together. That's what they brought before this county council, and we voted on, and we have to do that every 10 years, correct? And how many times has it been updated in 10 years? I mean, roughly.
What are you asking, the vision plan?
Yeah, the comprehensive plan. How many, has it been
Or the
looked at?
comprehensive plan?
Has it been looked at within the 10 years and updated or amended in any way, shape, form?
Yeah, we
that
just
you're aware
redid
of?
the comprehensive plan in 2018.
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate you bringing that up. So would you say that the comprehensive plan is a zoning ordinance and is required by state law? And you've explained to us what the comprehensive plan is. Here's what I think, and you help me if you think I'm wrong on that, on this next comment. I think county council needs to revisit and take a look at the comprehensive plan. What do you think?
Well, we're required, and yes, we have a 5-year update that we can do, and that's part of our RFP that we are writing at this particular moment. Yes, sir.
2 citizens contacted me, 2 very strong women, okay? And they brought this to my attention. So I made some comments. They wanted to know about this, and they were questioning about the comprehensive plan. So I want to just say to those 2 very strong women, who women have to work 5 times harder to be recognized than a man, and if anybody up here doesn't agree with it, go home to your daughters and your wives and tell them why you don't agree with it. But bottom line is, that was very impressive to me that I was reminded that the comprehensive plan is our roadmap, is our vision, which is required by state law. And, you know, the reason we're doing what we're doing tonight, let me make myself clear, if allowed by law, what we're doing tonight, which I've always said this, I would like for the administrator to be more involved in the application of variances, which reflects back to the folks in the background there, and the administrator to be involved in the zoning and permitting process, and the change of zoning code to add the administrator in the process, make variances more flexible and accessible. And that's the reason that I got involved, and that's the reason that I brought this back for county council. Have you got any thoughts or comments that you would like to make on the direction that we're going?
Do I have any? No,
Yeah.
sir, I do not have any comments.
Okay. You think we're going in the right direction by doing this?
That's not, I won't add my subjective into this conversation.
Okay, because if you said no, then what you're telling me is that you don't think we should change and be aggressive and move forward, and we should stick by the laws we had years ago. And Mr. Carpenter, I see you sitting up like a bullfrog, but let me just tell you something. When you bring a department head to this county council meeting, we have the right to question them.
Mr. Jones, you're right. You have the right to ask questions. However, asking them to put a personal opinion into something, I don't think that's...
Well, do you not agree with state law? Very well put, Mr. Carpenter. Now I'll go back. Do you not agree with state law, Mr.? Do you agree with state law or not?
Is that directed towards me?
Yes.
Oh, of course.
Okay, then you do agree with the motion and what we put in here.
I believe you said he did. Yes, sir.
Okay. Guys, look, here's the thing. I am tired. I am just really tired of the beat around citizens have gotten in planning and zoning. I'm really tired of the fact that we're setting our planning and zoning employees up to fail because we haven't done our job. Me as well. Hey, I'm probably the most guilty of not doing my job. But we want to go out bragging about we've got this company, that company coming here, and they're not here. But yet tonight we did get a real physical company coming here. I'm not mad, I'm just upset. What upsets me more than anything else is when someone has to go to planning zoning and they have to get a permit and they got a book that thick, zoning regulations, a book that thick, a comprehensive plan. I know for a fact that some of the council members up here hadn't even seen the comprehensive plan. but they've seen other vision plans. Well, there's no money with those vision plans. We're required by state law to do the comprehensive plan. I just want to make sure we get back on the right track. I want to see planning and zoning interface with the public being able to interface with planning and zoning. We've got some good employees in there. And you guys work hard. And we've got to do a good job of making sure that the Planning Commission gets everything we need back to us in a timely fashion, and that we go by this schedule, which I had over here. Excuse me a second. Which gives all the dates in this public record. But anyway, my whole point is what we're doing tonight will allow us to make administrative variances decisions at the staff level whenever state law allows, and past zoning ordinance is the comprehensive plan. We're going to be looking at that by state law, and I think we need to make sure we're following that. So basically, that's all my questions, but I do appreciate the fact that you've worked very hard with Mr. DeVos. And listen, guys, we can be nice, and I think I'm being very polite tonight. I'm not angry at anybody, but there's just some tough questions that need to be asked, especially when I'm getting calls every other day about issues dealing with a department that are making the citizens just run around in circles. And then I have two families here tonight, and it breaks my heart. 6 acres of land she's given to run around about where she can build her. She wants her kids to live by her. You know, this governing body right here can change it. We can change the whole process and make it a whole lot more friendly. And then these folks up here at the last moment, after they got their house done, a variance, I think it should have been allowed. But anyway, that's just where I'm at. Thank you, Mr. Conley. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. And I appreciate y'all answering my kind questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. That was interesting. Mr. Tucker.
Factual.
Mr. Tucker, any comments?
Yes, sir. I have no comment.
Okay, other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Connell.
Last meeting, we asked for an update on the codification project. Where are we on that? Okay, all along, and this is something we've already voted on and funded. I felt like one of the first dominoes that needed to fall was first giving people access to the information so they can make more informed decisions. So you don't have to physically show up and thumb through or pay a fair amount of money to make a copy of it if you wanted to do that. And so with codification, do we know when it'll be completed? Can we get a final date?
We don't have a final date, but the information's been compiled and sent to the people that are codifying it. And so I'll check on that and get the final date. But it's 90% along, what you say, Mary, or 95?
Yeah, because as a third-party contractor, it feels like it's been dragging at this point.
Well, it's taken a long time.
Yeah.
Because it hadn't been done in a long time, Mr. Connell. We had to go through 30 years of ordinances. And of course, not all of them were codified. For instance, we did not codify all the fee in lieu of tax agreements. That it would have been, if we had done that, it would have been extraordinarily massive. Correct? We didn't codify the budget ordinances. So we had to manually go through, and Mary particularly, had to manually go through the list of ordinances and take out the ones that were not codified.
Well, I think for our purposes, we would want the most recent zoning code put online first, if that can be done, so that people can have access to information and make informed decisions about their land and property. And then whenever these updates occur through this process and this timeline, it'll be instantaneously put online and people can use that information.
Yeah, I think the zoning land development regulations are online in some form now, but the advantage can be after codified, of course, you'll be able to do word searches.
Yeah,
and
right.
things like that. That'll be a big advantage to somebody that wants.
Huge advantage.
Yeah, huge advantage. Yes, that will be the advantage.
If we could, let's please ask the contractor on a date so we can hold them to some accountability for when they're actually going to complete the project. Thank you.
The codification would just be much more user-friendly to public to do
And
word
that's
searches.
the idea. That's the idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I thank Mr. Connell for that idea some years ago, that putting it online so contractors and owners can rapidly scale down and then pull up electronically these applicable regs. Secondly, I want to endorse what Mr. Jones said tonight and last time we met which is when we give a tough job to somebody and they're overwhelmed by just the cascade of licenses that have been coming in and understaffed and overworked, and the regulations are difficult to interpret. The fault rests with this body up here to provide those assets and that guidance so that Mr. Carpenter and his team can provide the customer service that contractors and owners deserve. It has been an unusual series of 3 years, and Mr. Connolly told us it was an unusual time in which each year the number of licenses come in double year on year to the point where Kershaw County has the most number of licenses of any county out there per capita than any other county, because growth is happening, capital G. So, Mr. Jones, thank you for bringing in this very useful, I think, amendment to our procedures and policies, and we'll give the county council staff the means they need to do the job that the county citizens expect of us. And I think this is a very useful beginning. With that, I'm ready to call the question unless there's further discussion. Okay, there is none. I turn to Mr. Tucker. Sir, how do you vote?
Mr. Lostchild votes yes.
And all others, kindly show your agreement by raising your hand. And it's unanimous. Mr. Snodgrass absent. We're down to 6. With that, we move to council briefings. And Mr. Snodgrass not here. Sammy, you lead us off. Off to you, Mr. Tucker.
No report, sir.
Mr. Gardner.
No report.
Mr. Brazel.
I'll make up for it. I got a small list of items I'd just like to circle back up with. We've had a rough few weeks. And taking all that into consideration, I'll ask these questions very politely. But maybe by our next meeting, if we could have an update on the boat ramp at the river.
We'll put it on the agenda for sure.
Okay, yeah, just like a process. Where we at? Have we met with the engineer? If so, have we got any feedback? And you don't have to answer the question, but I'd like to hear back on that. We were going to move quickly, and that was 60 days ago. So it's been a rough 60 days. So we'll say, hey, let's look forward in the next 30 days to try to get something started here, something that we can put in front of this body and make a decision. I see my good friend George Delk in the back. George, I know this is probably going to be a touchy subject for you. We're both in the home building industry, but there's been a tremendous outreach about the amount of growth in Lugoff and Elgin, and we've got to figure out how we're going to handle that growth. I'd like to ask this body and Mr. Connolly, we spoke over a year ago about how are we going to deal with this growth, and we really hadn't gotten anything back in front of us yet. I want to hit that head on when we meet in the next few weeks. I want to talk about how do we keep Kershaw County. There's so many people in Kershaw County because they love it for what it is. And while we know growth is inevitable, we can't overwhelm the system, okay? We can't overwhelm the schools. We can't overwhelm the roads. And we've just got to do something, and we got to do something in the next 60 days. We can't wait to the end of this year to discuss this and kick this down the road. We've got to do something, and do something in a reasonable amount of time. So I ask all of you to take this into consideration, and let's discuss it and put something to a vote within the next few meetings. To the Smith family in the back, I don't know what next steps there are. happy to continue to help. Met with you at the home site up at the lake. Very sorry for the outcome that we weren't able to help anymore, but we've got your number still, and if Mr. Carpenter would like to sit down and chat with you guys, I'd be happy to be a part of that and help any way I can. And to the Clyburn family, I feel it's unfortunate sometimes that we don't get to chat when somebody comes up here and presents. I knew her, and I knew her, and I apologize for getting up and leaving, but she cooked us breakfast at Thomas Sumter in the 90s, and I knew her face. So the Clyburn family, I want to say that if there's a way that we can help within the law with the subdivision of their property, Michael, I'd like to work with you on that. Of course, we'd have to look at it. And lastly, I attended a funeral this afternoon at 4 o'clock, and while we're all up here debating all these hot topics that sometimes get heated, let's not forget that we're all human. And Miss Martha, I may say her last name incorrectly, Wyrick, was laid to rest today, and her daughter-in-law works with us at Roy's Wood Products and is a dear friend, and just want to say to that family, we're thinking about you and we're praying for you. So that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the great things about Kershaw County is the high school athletics.
Yeah.
I have a particular fondness for the wrestling teams. These are some tough kids. Wrestling is an unbelievably hard sport. Unless you've done it, you have no idea how tough it is to make somebody physically do something against their will. It's an amazing sport, and it teaches so many lessons beyond just the moves. It sticks with you for the rest of your life. So with that, I wanted to highlight some achievements recently and some huge matches tomorrow night. I hope the community will get out and support them. Lugoff Elgin Wrestling just beat Catawba Ridge 67-4. That put them in a position to host Eastside, the reigning multi-time team state champion, tomorrow night. So we're hosting Ed Ellie at 6 p.m. at the high school. I encourage everybody to go out and support Lugoff Elgin Demons. They have a pretty stout team, and I'm proud to say, as a former heavyweight, that they have the #1 heavyweight in the state in that classification, Carrington Charles. But all of them are tough, and they all fight for each other. It's an inspiring thing to watch them compete, and it's going to be an absolute battle. Camden had a recent and tough match. They did a great job with the team they have, I think, and I think they're building for the future as well. They went to the first round of playoffs. And then North Central, they're also outstanding. So they have tomorrow night Timberland hosting at home. That's the lower state championship. Lugoff is the upper state championship for its classification. So they're wrestling Timberland at 6 p.m. We've had one of the most recent 4-time state champions come out of North Central High School, and it's just amazing to watch. So I hope whichever school you're tied to, or if you have family or friends associated with them, go out and support them tomorrow night. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Jimmy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the County Council. A couple of things. I just want to really, I appreciate Ben Connell's work on the codification, and I really mean that, because I don't think we were making any headway whatsoever until he sort of got his horse and buggy hooked up and went head first into it. But is there a time schedule on that? Have we got some kind of roadmap like we do with planning and zoning now?
Mr. Jones, I'll get that to you.
Okay. Or maybe give it to all the county council.
All the council.
Yeah.
Okay. I will.
What we're looking at for completion. And thank you on that. One thing as we move forward with planning and zoning, with the updating, I like to say the updating of planning and zoning. You never know. When you talk about getting involved into the land ordinance, you're talking about a very detailed piece of work that could take 2 years, and you're going to have a consultant. I don't like consultants, but you're going to have one. If that does come back to us, which I'm sure it will, I want to say this. I want that consultant to work with every single individual member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Not just as chairman or vice chair, but the entire commission. I want each one to be able to have some one-on-one time with the consultant, as we did when we went through the redistricting. I think that makes for everybody feeling like they're a part of it. The Planning Commission is a very, very important commission in this county. And they're mandated by law, and we have to follow that. And that's all I talked about tonight, was the fact that we just need to be following law and staying the course. And I have much appreciation that my colleagues have supported this unanimously through its process. And as I said, this is just the beginning, but I hope within a couple of weeks, Mr. Carpenter, Mr. Attorney, that y'all can bring back something to us that kind of absolutely hits the highlighted points that I said I wanted to see happen immediately, which would take about 3 or 4 months. And that is allowing the administrator to be a little bit more involved. And of course, we'll see where that goes. And also, Mr. DuBose, let me ask you this. What about, do you think we need, I don't necessarily always agree with an Attorney General's opinion, but do you think we need one in this case?
Mr. Jones, the administrator is a statutory position, county administrator. And under our zoning code, the zoning director is a statutory position. So I think there are some constraints about how many statutory hats a person can wear. They're not only the dual office holding, which is one issue, but even if that's not an issue, you do have an issue of lines of authority. And we've looked at that, and the issue is not clear under law. So how you get an answer to that, are you asking me, do we need to, what are you asking me, Mr. Jones?
What do we need to do to go ahead and do that?
Well, not clear.
Or do we need to do that?
Well, I think if you want to do it, you need to do it. And I think one thing you could do, and this is just a possibility, you could get an AG opinion on an Attorney General's opinion. It'd probably take 60 days, but at least you'd find out what the Attorney General thought about it. Now, that's not law, but I will tell you that if you get an AG opinion and you follow the AG opinion, the courts cut you a break, Mr. Connell, because you did the best you could. That would be the only solution other than ask for declaratory judgment. I wouldn't do that. That'd take 2 years.
Jimmy, I wanted you to get your questions answered, but we've closed that discussion. Are you going to try to reopen it? We're in council briefs, and normally we don't get into this kind of discussion. Can you bring that to a conclusion for us, Jimmy?
Actually, I think the council briefing, we all have dialogue with each other during our council briefing, and we sort of bring things up that we feel are important. So I would like to, I appreciate your position. I just don't quite agree with it, but I'm going to go ahead and close it up.
All right, thank you, sir. But certainly we would want to get together on this after that. And
okay, let me just finish this. I'm going to close it up, but I really want us to look at that. And Mr. Carpenter, if you'll get with Mr. DuBose, maybe send out an email to us, letting us know what we need to do. How do we go about that? Because I believe you, Mike, can do it yourself as the county administrator.
Ms. Jones, I'll be glad to talk some more with you, make sure that we understand what it is so we can do it correctly.
Okay, Let me say one more thing too, Mr. Chair, if I may. Thank you. Folks, I'm not angry, I'm not mad. And if my questions appear to be ugly questions, well, it's just the ugly truth. I just want to make sure that we are doing what we need to do and we're servicing citizens in the best way possible. And I also know, even though we may disagree up here on this council, they feel the same way. We just don't see the same way about going about it. But I thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council, for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll close it out on council briefs. Dignity and respect is a big part of my life in the military and in this job. And treating our staff with dignity and respect is an absolute must. I appreciate your respect for that. I want to put up a chart, and I'm just going to precurse this because we're going to talk about it in the retreat. Next chart, please. This is the census by the change by municipalities that shows 14% growth in the municipalities, and Elgin grew 24% during this census. This means planning and zoning is busy. Next chart. And we'll go into detail on these numbers when we meet on Wednesday. Kershaw County is the only county growing in the Midlands. Hello? and that growth rate is 5%, okay? Lee County, Sumter County, Clarendon all got smaller. People are coming to Kershaw County. That's great because they like it here. This is the great place. The taxes are lower than Sumter. The schools are better, on. And they come in here for a reason. You figure out what it is. Next chart. This is a change by census tract. And look at the dark green. Elgin grew 24%. The eastern part and northern part of Camden grew greater than 10%. Look at all the red up there is in the other counties. That means your planning and zoning has been very busy with a small staff and a very difficult code to enforce and a very professional leadership down there with good people, as Mr. Jones said. And I will tell you also, the Post and Courier on Sunday reported year on year, from 20 to 21, the number of licenses processed by our team, your team, doubled. And then it doubled again in 21. And Mr. Conley told us that was going to happen, and we did nothing to help him. And I proposed with Mr. Jones's amendments and with the work that I proposed to talk about, as Mr. Brazel mentioned on Wednesday and Thursday, to give some help to our citizens by making this staff better equipped to do these tough jobs. All right, and turn those off, and we'll go into detail, ladies and gentlemen, when we meet again. I have met with the CMCOG twice, and they are in charge of roads in the western Wateree. Mr. Connell and and the Mayor Emmons and I participated in detail on a West Wateree study, and I will tell you with a great deal of dissatisfaction that we, in the last 23 years, have not had a new road in West Wateree in 23 years. In that time, Charles Ives' hair has gotten gray indeed, and mine too, and we can't have growth if we don't have roads and schools and all that other stuff. And I will tell you we will have to intensify our efforts. I join with Mr. Connell to say that high schools continue to delight us, and so do the JV with wrestling, basketball, and volleyball championships. It's just going great. And so it's terrific to be in this county and watch that happen. The next time we meet will be the 22nd of February, and we have a retreat next week. I turn it over now to you, Mr. Carpenter, to close us out. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, no report, but I would just like to stress and reiterate to some comments earlier that at no point in time has staff ever broken a law, will staff ever break a law knowingly or willingly, be it a county ordinance or a state ordinance. That is what always guides us and drives us, is adherence to the law. Thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. DeBose.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Can we have a motion to adjourn? Normally that comes from Mr. Tucker.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Well, no discussion. How do you vote, Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
And all others signify. And we are adjourned. Have a great and safe night out there.